Him. It's a special day, and ain't it is. Okay, here we go.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Carol Ricketts, and I'm honored to be here today and so very happy that we're open again. It's great to see everyone, and it's great to still be streaming live. And for all those still at home, please know that everyone, whether you're here at home, is receiving the love in our hearts, and our church family is truly priceless. Do we have any first-time visitors? When? Won't you stand up and tell us your name?
Oh. My name's Bruce.
Hi, Bruce. Where are you from?
I'm right from here.
I'm Georgette, and I'm from Goodyear, Arizona. This is my first time. Welcome.
Oh, welcome. Welcome. We welcome you and glad you're sharing your Sunday morning with us. And we have a loving community here that's here to support you on your walk with God in any way we can. And it's our sincere hope that you'll return and become a part of our spiritual family. And we do have welcome packets at the back on your way out. And the announcement that we have is that Diana Love, who many of us know as Karen Diane, will be here next Sunday on the 16th from 1 to 2 for the Gong and Bowl meditation. So we'd be happy to have you join her for that also. We also have an old-fashioned unity prayer service every Sunday from 9 to 9:30, usually led by Reverend Denise, and she'll be back in a couple weeks. But we will still have the service even though she's not here. And it's a guided meditation and prayer time. It's a great way to get yourself connected to God and get going with your whole week. So that's, and the class that Denise did is finished for now. She's covering Mysteries of John by Charles Fillmore, and we got partway through the book of John. So we'll be taking it up again after the first of the year and after the holidays. Our prayer chaplain for today is going to be me. I'm Carol. And if you need prayer, we'll be in the back corner over there if you have any need for prayer. And our board member of the day is Linda Thomas, if you have any questions about the church. So, would you join me in saying our mission statement? It's in the bulletin. Our mission is to provide a prosperous and loving community by connecting to God through prayer and following the teachings of Christ. charge, and all is in divine order. Let's do that again. God is in charge, and all is in divine order. So, I'd take a moment for prayer, and I would ask that you allow me to let my words be your words for the prayer. Dear God, I come to you this morning knowing that you're always present, working in and through me every moment of every day. And so on this day, dear God, I set you before me to guide and guard, protect and prosper me. I know that it's your infinite wisdom that guides me. Your divine love prospers me. And with you as my source, God, in all things, with you as my source in all things, I'm successful in anything and everything I undertake. As I walk through this day and every day, I know you're ever with me, leading, guiding, directing. And so it is. Amen. Just as I have faith the sun will rise each moment, and each morning, I have faith in the power and presence of God. This is the same power that's always flowing through me. I do not need to know my entire path. In faith and with confidence, I leave the comfortable and familiar and step boldly into the unknown. With each new step, each fresh step, I live the truth of my faith in God and in my ever-expanding potential. The scripture is from Hebrews chapter 11, verse 1. Now faith is the assurance of things hoped for, the conviction of things not seen.
this out word for word, and I just couldn't do it. I went over it and over it and over it, and I have a list. I found this from a friend a long time ago. And so I'm calling this today Country Wisdom, although I think the original title of this was Old Hillbilly Wisdom. But I wanted to talk today a little bit about, it's kind of, so much of what the world has kind of thrown out with, lack of common sense. So I'm hoping that maybe today we can put a little common sense back into our everyday feeling. Common sense about God, common sense about life, common sense about living, common sense about music, common sense about friends and family, whatever we choose to talk about. What is common sense? I don't know. I heard somebody tell me a while back, common sense isn't nearly as common as it used to be. And in some ways I believe that. In other ways I think it's always been here. And I think we have to take the two and kind of put them together. So this is actually a list of things that when I was a child, I was raised by my mom, who was raised by her grandmother. So I was raised a lot by the wisdom of a lady who was born back in 1890. And so that took hold of my mom, and therefore that took hold of me. And so a lot of these old phrases are not foreign to me like they are of other people my age. Like this one. Your fences need to be horse-high, pig-tight, and bull-strong. What does that mean? I've talked to people about that before. I've seen it in other ways too. Fences, so I guess the operative word here is, if I were an English teacher, I would say the operative word, the subject of that is fences. So what are our fences? I would think that would be, what is it?
Defenses.
Yeah. Or your family, your friends, your values. Those are all the things that need to be kept strong in our lives. They need to keep in the good, keep out the bad. Make sure the horses don't escape. That's the good stuff. Pig tight, I don't know. I'll let you interpret that on your own. But yeah, we need to keep what we know and what we love close. Build a strong foundation of our morals and our values, our friendships, our family, our loved ones. Here's just the opposite. Keep skunks, bankers, and politicians at a distance. I suppose those would be the people and things on the other side of the fence. The common sense of what do you keep out? Skunks and bankers, politicians, well, I suppose that could mean what? All the bad stuff, right? The stuff that you don't believe in, the stuff that's not so great for family, not so great for friends. Skunks in particular. There's some stinky stuff in this world. You can call all skunks if you want to. This is one of my favorites. Life is simpler when you plow around the stump. Ain't that the truth? Don't make unnecessary work for yourself. It doesn't mean that you don't take on something when you need to take it on. But don't make extra work when you need to just make it simple. Don't cause trouble for yourself when you don't need to. I guess you could also say, let sleeping dogs lie. Pick your battles. Any one a number of analogies. A bumblebee is considerably faster than a John Deere tractor. Don't start something you can't finish. Don't irritate something that you can't contend with. Let sleeping dogs lie. You could almost go back to that in a lot of these. I like this one, especially being a teacher now. Words that soak into your ears are whispered, not yelled. As a matter of fact, anybody who's worked with kids knows that the louder you yell, the less they listen.
That's true.
It just becomes this white noise in the background. Well, you know what? The same is true with us as adults. Somebody's constantly going, what happens to us, you know? Right? It goes in one ear, not the other, over the top of our head, around and around, off it goes. We don't listen. You have to convince, you have to love, you have to be gentle, you have to be caring and kind. One of the best books I ever read was by Dale Carnegie. It's one of the most famous books in the world. It's over 80 years old now. It's called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And in there's a rhyme that he created that a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still. Now, of course, in that man meaning anybody, man, woman, child, anyone. If you force somebody to take your opinion, they may physically say it out loud, but they don't mean it. Here's another one that's similar. The best sermons are lived, not preached. So I can stand up here and talk to you all day long and tell you what to do and what not to do. Same thing with Reverend Denise. We can talk about this and that and yada 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 yada, that kind of thing. And it doesn't mean anything if I don't live it. Leading by example is the best way to do anything. It's really the only way to do anything. Is to live by example. When I was a kid, this big thing in the 1970s became a big deal. Do as I say, not as I do. Anybody ever heard that one before? Yeah. Doesn't work. Kids and adults as well. If you're in a leadership position, follow what you do. Your actions speak far louder than anything you could possibly say. This is a good one if you're a do-it-yourselfer or any kind of thing. If you don't take the time to do it right, you'll find the time to do it twice. I'm going to use ain't a lot in this talk today. Ain't that the truth? There's no substitute for doing something right. Whether you're doing plumbing or electrical or hanging drywall or just simply training your dog how to not potty in the house. Do it right the first time. There are no shortcuts. There are no shortcuts to wisdom. There are no shortcuts to wealth. There are no shortcuts to enlightenment. There are no shortcuts to anything. As a matter of fact, you see a lot of these shows. One of the reasons that I'm not a big fan of these shows like America's Got Talent and American Idol and things like that, the main reason being is because, and not that it doesn't give these young people lots of really great exposure, but the problem is they get into this big entertainment machine kind of thing, and they win the contest. And they are awarded, $100,000 or $1 million, whatever it is, they get a recording contract, and they get out there, and they start making records, and they start doing concerts, and they start traveling all around the country, all around the world. And what happens? They completely, emotionally, psychologically implode. Why? Because they're not ready for it. They took a shortcut. And I remember probably 10, 15, maybe even 20 years ago now, the great Tony Bennett said this very same thing. They're not building a career block by block. It's the same thing with money. Did you know that over 80% of lottery winners are bankrupt within 5 years? More than 80%. Why? Because they never took the time to learn how to handle money block by block, brick by brick. of a sudden you go from having no money to having $10 million. Now that's a nice thing, I'll admit. But the problem is, money doesn't make your life better, it just makes you more of what you already are. If you're a jerk, $10 million is going to make you a really big jerk. If you're a philanthropist and a kind, magnanimous soul, look out, world. You're going to be the most awesome, fantastic human being on the planet. It does not change who you are. It simply makes you more of what you already are. No shortcuts. Don't corner something that's meaner than you. Don't bite off more than you can chew is another way to say that. Make sure you know what you're getting yourself into. I tend to, I start talking like this and I start getting this accent going on. I pick up accents really easily. I think I learned it when I was doing opera, 25, 30 years ago. I would start picking up the Italian, the German, the French, the Latin, all the other languages I would sing in. Well, about 15, 20 years ago, I made a trip. I spent some time, I drove from here to New York City, and I was doing some work on Broadway shows with conducting and writing and things like that, and even with my own show for a while. And I spent every state I drove through most of the Deep South. I drove through Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Tennessee, and Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Every state I'd go, my accent would change from one state to another. I finally got in Tennessee and finally I'm talking like this in Arizona, and I get to Tennessee and go, "Wah-ha! How are you?" Of course, I almost had to run a couple of times when I refused grits. You don't want grits? He don't want grits! Now comes the cook with the spatula, "Who don't want grits?" Okay, I'll take grits right there. Give me a double helping right here. It don't take a very big person to carry a grudge. Ain't that the truth? I don't even need to explain that one. That's pretty self-explanatory. You cannot unsay a cruel word. Another self-explanatory one. You can't unring the bell. You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube. You can't unhear something. This one's just a good old-fashioned simple one. Every path has a few puddles. Indeed. I like this one. When you wallow with pigs, expect to get dirty. You become the company you keep. Matter of fact, when you talk about people who have gotten into trouble with drugs or alcohol or any kind of addiction or anything like that, and they'll tell you in therapies, in an AA or any of the other therapy and support groups, they'll say the only way to truly recover is to remove yourself from that environment. You have to remove yourself. You can't live with a bunch of alcoholics and expect to not be an alcoholic. What you plant grows. If you plant corn, don't be surprised if corn grows. You're going to become just like whoever you hang around with. It's like the mom says, little Johnny's hanging out with the weed head on the corner. Well, you wonder why little Johnny's a weed head. Well, of course, because he's hanging out with a bunch of weed heads. Naturally. Don't be banging your shin on a stool that's not in the way. It's kind of like plowing around the stump. Don't make unnecessary trouble for yourself. Don't go looking for trouble. I know a lot of people, perfectly fine, they're at home, relaxing, looking at the computer, doing something. perfectly fine life going on, and they're just out there looking for a fight, looking for trouble. Who can I get mad at today? Where's that stool I can bang my shin on? I like this one. This is kind of a little bit I'm going to be speaking about next week, about unnecessary fear. Borrowing from the future does not deplete the supply. Borrowing from the future does not deplete that future's supply. You can worry yourself into oblivion. Most of it's never going to happen anyway. What do we say here in Unity? False evidence appearing real. Now that doesn't mean, oh, there's a rattlesnake, I'll go pet it. But that means things that you probably shouldn't necessarily be afraid of. Like if you're living in Kansas, you know it's tornado territory. You take precautions, you do what you need to do, you have a storm cellar, you have stores of food and water. But you don't sit there every day with duct tape and wood on your windows biting your nails. You still live your life. And I think that's what this is getting at. Don't worry about stuff that you don't really need to worry about. Silence is sometimes the best answer. I've known a lot of people who have yet to learn this. Sometimes I'm one of those people. You know what? No, just keep it to yourself. Timing. Timing has a lot to do with the outcome of a rain dance. You know, sometimes the best laid plans, no matter what you do, no matter how hard you try, it's going to be on God's time. It's not your time. Keep living, keep the faith, keep believing. What you're coming for, what you're going for will come. It just may not be on the schedule that you're thinking about. I do this all the time. Where is it? I want it now! Like Veruca Salt and Willy Wonka. Gimme, 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 I want it. If you find yourself in a hole, who can finish this one? Anybody? Yeah, that's it. You find yourself in a hole, first thing you do is quit digging. One financial guru I listen to every once in a while says, say the same thing, quit digging. You cannot borrow your way to prosperity. You cannot borrow your way out of debt. You can't dig your way out of a hole. You've got to start climbing. Sometimes you get, and sometimes you get got. None of us want to feel like we're the patsy, we're the one being taken advantage of. But you know what? Every once in a while it happens. Sometimes it's big, sometimes it's small. Hopefully it's always small. But the bottom line of this one is, don't stop believing, don't stop loving, don't stop being kind, just because you're afraid of being taken advantage of. If you are the only one around you who is being kind and generous and magnanimous, which is generosity of spirit, then so be it. If everybody else is robbing banks and liquor stores and you're the only one who's not, well, God bless you. Just because everybody else is doing it doesn't make it right. This is a hard one. This has been a hard one for me. Because we always hate, well, let me just read this first. The biggest troublemaker you'll ever have to deal with looks at you from the mirror every morning. I know, there's dead silence in the room. I know, I hear that. I think that too. No, that's not true. Because we always have a choice. No matter how difficult that choice is, no matter how difficult our life circumstance, we do have a choice. It may not be easy to carry out. It may have to be carried out in tiny little, bitty little tiny steps. But we do have a choice. Okay, I lied. This one is my favorite. Always drink upstream from the herd. Always drink upstream from the herd. Good Lord Almighty, drink upstream from the herd. I'm not even going to touch that one because I'm not quite sure how to interpret that one. But if I had to guess, I'd probably say something along the lines of, don't allow bad ideas and bad people and bad concepts to poison your mind and your heart. Stay away from those kind of people. Stay away from those kind of ideas, those kind of situations. Good judgment comes from experience. Most of that comes from bad judgment. We try to help each other. Parents always try to help their children as much as they can. Don't do this. When I was your age, yeah, you old fogey, I'm going to go do my own thing. What do? Right? Everybody does it. Everybody has a certain amount of bad judgment they go through. Boy, have I done that. Bad judgment. I've done that before. Letting a cat out of a bag is a whole lot easier than putting it back in. That's the you can't unring a bell, you can't put the toothpaste back in the tube kind of a comment. There are some things that just cannot be undone. Some things that can't be unsaid. If you get to thinking you're a person of some influence, try ordering somebody else's dog around. I like this one. This is a really nice one. Live a good, honorable life, and then years later, you can think back and enjoy it a second time. You have wonderful memories with wonderful people, wonderful experiences, wonderful gifts. A few bumps in the road, but most of those we can turn around and laugh at later on. Live simply, love generously, care deeply, speak kindly, and leave the rest to God. It doesn't get much simpler than that. Because ultimately, most of the time it just comes down to good old-fashioned common sense. What is common sense? Ultimately, it's what your heart tells you is right. People always talk about that gut feeling. You get that gut feeling, that feeling right here in your heart, right here in the front of your mind, you know is either right or wrong, something you have to do or something you shouldn't do. You ever walk into a room and just go, I want to leave, this is not feeling right. Have you ever done that? Don't stay just because you're not sure what it is. Go. If you're getting ready to do something, and for whatever reason something tells you that it's not right, I don't mean like, I found a better deal, I'm going to go over there. I'm talking about something just eating away at your brain and your heart, saying, something just doesn't feel right about this. Don't do it. The converse is true as well. You don't think you should, but for some reason something is eating away at you saying, you know, if you don't do this, you're going to regret it the rest of your life. Do it. Take a chance. If it changes your life, let it. those changes are going to be for the better. Especially if you are the one to be the magnanimous spirit. You are the one to be the example of love. You are the one to be the example of kindness, of tolerance, of caring. When you do all those things, love and goodness cannot help but follow you around the rest of your life. Doesn't mean you won't have a few puddles in the way, but it means overall, you'll be able to look back on your life and say, wow, I had a pretty good ride. So since today we talked about country wisdom, Lori's going to do our second solo for us, and she's got a great song. So instead of me doing a prayer medication, no medication, I promise. Meditation, there we go. Lori's going to sing for us the old John Denver classic, Country Roads. So I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to turn it over to Lori. Lori, my dear, I love you, go for it.
Please feel free to sing along. Almost heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River. Life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, growing like a breeze. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, all my memories gather round her. Miner's lady, stranger to blue water, dark and dusty, painted on the sky, misty taste of moonshine, teardrop in my eye. Country roads, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads.